As you know, the brain itself feels no pain, so it won't feel a thing.
What's up, guys? Your boy Benny. Ever been watching a live event and seen something quite remarkable happen and say, hey, I'm witnessing history? I actually happened to be at a presidential debate in 2016, Donald Trump and the entire slate of candidates on stage, and I watched something happen from the audience and said, this is gonna go viral. And it was Ben Carson being missed by the announcer coming on stage. This is like a really fascinating clip. It's very funny, and it's telling about what we may see in a vice presidential selection from Donald Trump. Check this out.
Senator Ted Cruz.
So Ben Carson thinks he's being welcomed on stage. Ben Carson should have been welcomed on stage. The announcer got Ben Carson's name all messed up and then kept announcing names of
Florida
people,
Senator Marco Rubio.
including Trump. And people just kept walking by Ben Carson. Poor Ben Carson. He was running for president at the time, of course. This was the ABC News debate. Jeb Bush, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio.
Governor Jeb Bush.
They just fly on by. And poor Ben Carson is standing there. So the awkwardness of the clip, of course, is palpable. It was very awkward from the audience watching it. And, well, everyone was like, where the hell is Trump? And where's Ben Carson? Donald Trump was the only man standing beside Ben Carson, and Ben Carson never forgot that. Ben Carson now stands beside Donald Trump. Ben Carson endorsed Donald Trump for president not too long afterward. Ben Carson has, of course, endorsed Donald Trump for president. Now, in 2024, Ben Carson served in Donald Trump's administration for 4 years as the Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, a wretched job and a horrible government agency that should absolutely get the wrecking ball. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, that forthright loyalty and wherewithal has gotten Ben Carson a number of plaudits. Back in 2016, in an early debate, NBC forgot to call on Ben Carson. Trump was the only man who stood with him. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he's certainly not the only man standing beside Trump, but he is somebody who's getting a lot of questions about what capacity could he officially be standing beside Donald Trump in when it comes to the vice presidential race. Ben Carson says he discussed with Trump what they can do to save the country, doesn't deny that Trump asked him to be his vice president. Now, the more we look at this piece, the more our brain starts to tick, tock, and turn a little bit as we think about what Donald Trump has said about his VP selection. As ever, the only reason we obsess about this is because, one, Mike Pence was such a treacherous VP and betrayed MAGA and betrayed Donald Trump and his movement, the movement that brought him to the dance. It's horrible. It's a Judas move. Two, Donald Trump is constitutionally limited to a single term. And so he has to choose wisely because presumably he's setting up his heir. And Donald Trump's administration knows this. They regularly, including on my show this morning, talk to us about like how Donald Trump is laser focused on choosing someone young and energetic. Now, I'm not sure if those qualities would define Ben Carson, but loyalty certainly would. And Ben Carson is now commenting publicly about the potential of being picked for vice president. Another thing that Donald Trump regularly says is that this won't surprise you. It's somebody you already know. Well, Ben Carson is certainly a known quantity and a known entity. Ben Carson, for a little while, was leading the Republican field, got a bunch of delegates in 2016. People love Ben Carson. Here, listen to the quote from this weekend on Mornings with Maria.
One of the reasons President Trump is doing so well in the polls. Has President Trump contacted you to be his VP?
I don't want to talk about what we've talked about, but we've talked about what can we do to save this country, and that we will work together to make sure that America remains America. There's so many things that are going on right now. You know, compromising the DOJ, using it to injure your opponents politically. These are things that occur in China and Russia and Cuba. Those are not things that are supposed to occur in this country.
So Ben Carson, again, not exactly the last word when it comes to energetic, but certainly somebody who, what's the right way to say this, would be a deeply stabilizing, comforting, loyal force. Speaking of stable, I mean, obviously Ben Carson is a genius level IQ. He doesn't have to have the best delivery. Ben Carson is the most renowned neurosurgeon on earth. They make movies about Ben Carson with Cuba Gooding Jr. We all forget these kind of things, right? Much like Trump, beloved by Hollywood until he announces his politics. And so these are the headlines. Could Ben Carson become Donald Trump's VP? Trump has yet to announce. Carson has been suggested. Carson said that he's, well, on the list. I'm not going to tell you what Trump and I talked about, Ben Carson says. We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. The reasons for picking Ben Carson obviously add up on paper, the endorsements, the loyalty, and so forth. Ben Carson has also roasted Joe Biden in his own special little way. And Ben Carson has been one of the first people out of the gate to defend Donald Trump early on. This was even before Donald Trump had announced he was running for president. Again, Ben Carson defending the MAGA movement. So, again, a good dude. Donald Trump has said that he's already made his selection for the vice presidency, and that it's going to be somebody that we all know. Donald Trump said this on Fox News. Have a listen.
You said in our town hall that you had an idea, or you might have already decided about your VP pick. When do you think you're going to make that?
Well, it's never really had that much of an effect on an election, which is an amazing thing. Both election and primary, it's never really had much of an effect. I may or may not release something over the next couple of months. There's no rush to that. It won't have any impact at all. The person that I think I like is a very good person, pretty standard. I think people won't be that surprised. But I would say there's probably a 25% chance it would be that person.
Is Senator Tim Scott on the list now?
No, he's a great guy. You know, he endorsed me. There's an example. Nikki comes from South Carolina. Tim Scott is from South Carolina. But if you look, the governor, great governor, another senator, Lindsey, we happen to like Lindsey. But Henry McMaster knows her very well. He endorsed me. It's very hard for a governor to endorse somebody when you have, I mean, Henry McMaster was the lieutenant governor under her, and he endorsed me, and he's going to be here tonight. In 15 minutes, you're going to be watching him speak. I'm going to introduce him. He's a great guy. He's done a great job. So everybody, almost everybody in South Carolina has endorsed me. What does that tell you?
So Donald Trump saying at least 25% sure is going to be somebody that you know, a known quantity, a known entity, and somebody who, of course, again, is going to be very loyal, fiercely loyal to the America First movement. That really does describe Ben Carson. It actually doesn't describe a fan favorite of our show, Vivek Ramaswamy, for vice president, because he's not really somebody that is like a well-known political quantity. He's somebody who has come rip-roaring onto the scenes quite recently. Now, Donald Trump has been someone who said before the Iowa caucuses that he knew what his pick was. Now Trump is saying, I kind of know. And anybody who knows Donald Trump's thought process on these kind of things knows that he's a man who makes gut instinct decisions. So has it gone from Ben Carson to Vivek? Well, if you were to listen to what Donald Trump is saying, it sure sounds like it, actually. Vivek Ramaswamy was on Fox News just the other night saying that he can't wait to debate Kamala Harris.
If you ever get a chance to debate or talk to like Kamala Harris, then Biden's not going to be debating, I don't think anyone, but it'd be good just to say, why shouldn't George Washington be banned? If you're going to take all these other names off, all these statues down, why should Washington still be around as any figure we revere, given his slave-holding past?
I'll file that away, Laura, and I'm looking forward to hearing Kamala's answer. I don't expect it to be super coherent, but I'll be sure to face off with her on it.
All right, but she'll repeat the same phrase over and over again. All right, Vivek, great to see you.
I'll be sure to face off with her on it, Vivek says, as he smiles and chirps. So what does that mean? Well, how would Vivek face off with Kamala Harris other than crashing one of her events and yelling at her? The vice presidential debate, actually, is how you do that. Vivek chooses his language, obviously, quite carefully and closely, and selects it. I'll be sure to face off with Kamala Harris on American history. Donald Trump has publicly congratulated Vivek. He's called him a dynamo. He's called him perfect, actually, in campaign events. Welcomed him on stage, clapped him on the back, and obviously enjoyed campaigning with him. the crowd chanted VP, VP, VP at Vivek Ramaswamy, and those are kind of energy notches that Trump certainly matters to Donald Trump. Glenn Beck gave up the ghost and said that Trump has been calling people about this VP selection. That's not news, but that Trump admits that the only name that anyone's been telling him has been Vivek. That is news, and really something else, because this was before the Iowa caucus. You can imagine that after the endorsement and after the rallies, that ticker has gone up. And so maybe that is what is actually creating what was going to be Ben Carson and creating sort of a dichotomy here where the two are ships crossing in the night.
Donald Trump called me and he said, any advice on who I should pick for vice president?
Oh, really?
Who do you think? Not that he's probably calling everyone.
But that's great that you're on that list.
And so he said, who do you think? And I said, I don't know how you're going to feel about it, but this is the day, I think it was the day he trashed Vivek. And I said, Vivek. And he said, why do you say that? He said, that's the number one response from everybody I've asked that question. And he said, why do you say that? And I said, A, he can defend you. He's right in your pocket. And while you're defending this, he's watching your back defending this. I said, also, I think some of his ideas are really, really good. Yeah. He connects with the youth, which now the latest of 18 to 24-year-olds that voted for Biden, they're not voting for Biden, but they won't vote for Donald Trump yet. So you get that lower vote, the people that are excited about, hey, something fresh and different. And then in 2028, when you can no longer run, you continue for another 8 years, right? And you get the credit for bringing this new, fresh face in. I said, I just think you become legendary.
And what did he say to that?
Well, we'll see.
I guess we will. Donald Trump. Everyone keeps telling me Vivek. Well, what can you say? Kind of like the stock market. Things are always ticking up, ticking down. Donald Trump's a man who reads energy. So what will it be? Ben Carson? Stable, solid choice? I mean, again, it's a really interesting tweet here. Ben Carson trending as a potential VP pick. Here's a clip of him at Turning Point. He gets it. He would absolutely support Carson as VP. I would also support him or Governor Noem. But this is like sort of Ben Carson's delivery. It's so surgeon-like, right? It's so neurosurgeon. It's like calm and confident and straightforward and direct and thoughtful, okay? It's not going to be the most fire and brimstone interview you've ever done. It's probably not going to be clipped up and put on TikTok, but it certainly delivers. Watch.
There is, we the American people, we are not enemies. Wayne, we are not enemies. We have to remember that because people are trying to divide us on the basis of race, age, income, gender, political affiliation, religion, you name it. And what has happened in other countries that became socialist or communist? What did they do first? Divided the people. And they also dumbed down the population. Isn't that going on in our country right now? They're dumbing down the population.
Just a simple, sound, confident, calm delivery. That is sort of just about as stable as a locomotive, right? Just rolling down the tracks. That's Ben Carson style. And so does it match the political vibe of the era that has turned like politics far more into a WWE a feel and energy? No, it doesn't match that. But is that a good thing? Maybe, actually. Maybe. We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see if these two buddies, well, if this viral moment is a sign of things to come. If this was the moment that your 2024 ticket was solidified some 8 years ago, as Jeb Bush wanders off into the distance. Trump and Ben Carson? Let me know in the comments what you think, ladies and gentlemen. no matter what, we know Ben Carson really well. He's a good man, and it'd be great to see him serve again his nation. He's an honorable and good and decent man, and he deserves all of our respect. You deserve to reward yourself by liking, sharing, and subscribing to this program so you can get all of our content into your feed. It's your boy Benny. Stay based.